Subscribe Squad, today we're going to be talking about Yo Gotti and why his album is fire, in my particular opinion. Let's tap into it.
You know my squad. You know my squad. I said now ain't nobody messing with my squad. You know my squad. You know my squad.
Last night, I bumped his album from start to finish. It is called Untrapped. If you haven't checked it out, then you need to go check it out. If you're just a fan of hip-hop, you're a fan of culture, you're a fan of quote-unquote legends, then Untrapped is an album for you. Definitely give it a listen. Now, before we go forward, you should do me a favor, hit the like button, sub button, bell button, because you can ring my bell. Ring my bell, ring it, ring it, ring it. That we know every single time I drop a new video. Now, with that being said, let's dive right into it. Untrapped, as an overall album, I think was fire. I'll be honest and say that I didn't listen to the Yo Gotti's last album from start to finish, so this was kind of like the first album that I listened to from start to finish for him in a while. And if anything, I feel like this album is a good imprint on his legacy and where he has the potential to go to next. Now, if you don't know, we got to give like some context clues, right? So this is supposed to be his last album that he has on the label. He recently signed a management deal with Jay-Z and Roc Nation, which you know, as far as there's levels to this, that's amongst the highest levels that you could tap into as an artist is teaming up with Jay-Z. And so I think that was part of probably why this album is going to be so successful, is because of all the work that they're going to be putting in behind the album. Now, with that being said, the music speaks for itself. And so what I love about this album, that it is literally a concept from start to finish. And for a lot of people, that could be kind of hard to do. Quote unquote, like Yo Gotti, if you check out some of his recent interviews, he talks about how a lot of people just kind of viewed him as a gangster rapper, right? Versus a lyricist and a storyteller. And I'll be honest, I didn't view him as gangster rapper, but I kind of viewed him as like a single type of guy. Like he makes popping singles, and it does kind of have like the drug culture, gang culture to it, right? After this album, I have a completely different opinion of my perception of Yo Gotti. I have the perception of somebody who was once a gangster, and who knows, maybe still be on the low. But now it's more focused on building a legacy and having entrepreneurship and helping the people that he has around him, being an executive for a label. I did not know that the Black Youngster was signed to his label, like, at all. And so I'm like, how does he have all these bags he's talking about? I'm like, oh, this is how he's been making moves. You know what I'm saying? Of course, the music industry moves, but on top of that, business moves outside of that. So shout out to Yo Gotti for, you know, being about his stuff, being about his paper, his checks, and most importantly, handling business. So the first song of the album is called Trapped, right? And so on this album, I love his concept of the mentality of somebody who lives in a quote-unquote trapped environment. So this particular environment he's talking about is African Americans in an urban, low-income community, and what the mindset was. And on this song, he tapped into the mindset of gang members or drug dealers, you causing problems in other people's house, and you're not even aware of it because you're just trying to look out for yourself, or the mentality of buying a chain before you buy a house. Like, all of that, I feel like, geez, this is stuff that I've been wanting these type of rappers to talk about for years. Since you're out of that, since you're removed from that, then help educate other people so that they don't have to do that. And so off top, he comes in from the gate on Trapped, right? Now, as the album goes along, I feel like there's this transition that takes place. In the beginning, he's more so talking about his mindset when he was hustling, when he was in this trapped environment. And then as it transitions out, he gives lessons about what he's learned and why he's on a different page. And so some of my favorite songs of the album, obviously I said Trapped. I'd say Big Homie Rules is my #1 song on the album. Big Homie Rules. Dope Cello is cool. I like the concepts that he put on because it was all storytelling. Even like Pose, Megan Thee Stallion put a date on it featuring Little Baby, like that. A Boogie with the hoodie. He had these messages. If he covered all corners, I felt like, whether it was the money mindset of somebody who was in this trapped environment, the romantic or not lack of thereof romantic environment of somebody who was in this quote unquote trapped environment, of not being able to be monogamous based off of what it is that you're experiencing and where your mindset is at. Not only that, he talks about like females who's within this environment and what their mindset is towards men and how they treat men in this particular environment. He made comments about like, okay, why are you buying females bags? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a waste of money. Like, why am I buying you a $30,000 bag when if I'm really rocking with you, I'm gonna buy you a business so you could buy your own $30,000 bag. Please send me that man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's that mentality that we need. Can somebody please send him my way? Not him in particular. That's nothing wrong with Yo Gotti. But I'm just saying that mindset is what we need in our African American men, of why are we doing all this to flex when I could put you in a position to win? And same thing with females. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why not put our men in positions to win? Like, okay, I could do da 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 da, or I could set you up so that you're winning in society. Like, and I don't mean to get too preachy, to get too off topic, but this is something I feel like he tapped into and that's going on in our culture that was so necessary. I think we have this Instagram flex culture. We want to look rich so bad that we forget to actually put ourselves in the position to be rich. We will look like we have $1 million and our bank account is zero. That is a no. I would rather look like I have $10, you know what I'm saying, and work on my million than vice versa. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I feel like he really tapped into that. And he tapped into at the same time, he's out here having fun. And he's not saying that he hasn't done it anymore, but what would be his preference? Like, and then, now mind you, I think you should listen to the entire album, but I'm pointing out highlights of what I feel like were highlights of the project for me. Big Homie Rules though, bro. Big Homie Rules. I feel like he should win a Grammy for that song, because for me it was like, remember like Biggie, and I'm not comparing it to Biggie, but Biggie had like the 10 crack commandments, right? This to me was like, it was like a version of that, but specifically for friendships and how we should help other people in our community. And some of his big homie rules were so simple. It was like, don't tell your little homie to do something that you wouldn't do for yourself. Like, not only that, like, you know, stealing from another homie is just wrong. Backstabbing another homie is just wrong. Keep it in the family. Like, all these concepts that he had on Big Homie Rules, that is my favorite song from him that I've ever heard. Now, of course, you know, throughout the songs, he has these hits, right? So if you're looking for like the, you know, the club, whatever vibe, the down in the DM vibes, he definitely has that. I say Pose gives you that vibe. Put a date on it, you know, Little Baby. There's other songs in there that give you that vibe. But for me, when I was listening to it, I wanted to hear something different. And I got that. As a fan of just hip hop, as a fan of the culture, I for sure got that. And if anything, I leave with the perception of Yo Gotti that he's grown so much as a person, you know, by himself. He's just matured. And he's looking back at some of the decisions that he made, and he's saying, wow, I don't want the younger people around me that I'm influencing to make those same bad mistakes, to make those same bad decisions. And that to me is super duper dope. Because there's a lot of people who make it out of their circumstances, right? But they don't reach back and grab somebody else and help them come up. And so one of my favorite interviews he did was on Breakfast Club. So check out the Breakfast Club interview he did. But he was talking about, you know, his little homies could never say that he didn't tell them that such and such was going to happen, or he didn't tell them this was a bad decision, or he didn't try to guide them. Now, they're rightfully so. They're grown men, so they're able to make their own decisions. But at his quote-unquote big homie, he's going to warn them ahead of time, like, hey, if you do this, this is what it's going to look like, or this is how it could possibly end up. And we need that in our society, especially within the African American community, for somebody who's gone through ups and downs, whether it's finances or industry stuff or signing to labels or just, mistakes as far as, you know, maybe lifestyle choices, whatever the situation is, to say, hey, I did this. It didn't end up good for me. So let me help you out. And it was great for me to hear his growth, and that he was just so well-rounded in the album. And this is my whole thing when it comes to like people who make certain type of hip-hop. It's not that I have an issue with the fact that you make that type of hip-hop. It's why are you just doing that type of hip-hop? Why doesn't anything that you have some substance to it? It's all great to make this club and party music. Everybody loves to have fun. But at the same time, why don't you have any balance to what it is? And this album, to me, had balance. He had just as many turn-up stripper songs as he did having stuff that was talking about real knowledge. He had just as many I was in the hood, I'm really about that life songs. And he did have as much as he talked about being vulnerable and having feelings and emotions. This was such a well-rounded piece of body of work that I could honestly say that I'm proud of Yo Gotti. And so then in the end, one of the last songs you get is Untrapped. And for me, that was just a perfect juxtaposition from how the album started, because he talked about his mindset now that he's out of the quote unquote hood, how he views certain things. And he had to get there based off of, having new experiences with people outside of his environment. Anyway, the point of what I'm saying is that Yo Gotti's new album is fire. So go ahead and get that. Let me know what album reviews we're going to do next on the channel. I'm always here to listen to new music, old music, classic music, etc. Tap into it.